The following program is paid for by the friends and partners of Joyce Meyer Ministries.
A few years ago, Hand of Hope sprang at the opportunity to help an unreached people known as the Datooga tribes located throughout Tanzania's remote bush country of Eastern Africa. Soon, David and Shelley Meyer visited and witnessed something amazing happening. The water wells we were digging there were having dramatic impact. Working with our missionary partners, Gil, a native Datooga, and his American-born wife, Dolphy, these wells were not only solving the water crisis in the area, but opening a way for us to establish churches, schools, and provide feeding programs for the children. And that was just the beginning. When we learned that clean water is stopping tribal wars and saving girls from horrifying tribal rituals, we wanted to show you all that God is doing. So the thought of taking this trip is something that we have actually been working on and praying about for a couple years. Just starting that trip to Tanzania, I remember thinking two things. I remember thinking, I cannot wait, and I don't know about this because it was just so different. We were told that this would be a difficult trip. And we were going at the driest season, which sounds like maybe not the best time to plan a trip, but it was the right time to experience what people are dealing with, to be able to share with everyone the things that God is doing. We started in the city, kind of at the base of Kilimanjaro, and as we went lower in elevation, you could see the landscape drastically change. It became very dry and hotter. We went from paved roads to gravel roads, from gravel roads to dirt roads, and then you're off-road. You really realize how remote you are and how removed from time these people are that we're coming to help. And yet, God has such a wonderful plan for them where they are. And part of that plan is sending us to be able to provide water.
You're going to meet a missionary couple that struggled for years and years to reach the Datooga people, 250,000 people, most of them. If you ask them who Jesus is, they don't know who Jesus is. You know, most of them don't have the opportunity to go to school. There's less than 2% literacy, and Joyce Meyer started helping, and you're now going to see the rest of the story, what happens when people give water.
Right.
Started with that, and now we're seeing churches planted, we're seeing schools being built, we're seeing lives being changed.
It opens hearts, doesn't it? Because you come in and you provide a physical need, and it shows that you're invested, that you care about them. And then they will begin to listen when you share the gospel. John Bongiorno is our expert in the field. So he is the man that knows how to find the water, how to get these wells put where they need to be put, and really make a difference through this.
Local people, of course, many of them wanted to see us have success with water, but there were also witch doctors who were upset that Dolphy was there with her husband Gil trying to transform the community, bring change, and they were saying, you won't get water here. And after the first couple of attempts and no water, it was very discouraging, but we just agreed to continue.
And the people were beginning to think that the witch doctor had the power, and that's why it wasn't
That's what
working.
was happening. And so we said, hey, we got to pray harder.
Yeah.
And we got to keep going. And I thank God he just gave us the spirit to continue through adverse circumstances and keep trying.
And these are people who are really still very untouched by the rest of the world, correct?
Very much so. They lived the way they did hundreds and hundreds of years ago.
Yeah.
And again, water is everything. I mean, it's like in the Bible, you read about all these stories that were based on water and fighting over water wells. This still happens today. And one of the projects that Hand of Hope did, there were 3 tribes fighting over water. When people were killed, we did a project and it brought unity and peace to the area.
Wow. It's also making a huge impact on the lives of girls and women, isn't it?
Oh, for sure. Many of the tribal practices are very, very difficult for women and young girls. And many of these young girls, if they're not educated, they get married off at 13 years of age. There's some ceremonies that are tribal ceremonies that girls are forced to participate in terrible sexual practices. There's been some horrific things, and we know that the transforming power of Jesus Christ and the gospel can change that.
Yeah.
And this is what happens when people start living right. They live better, and that's what we want to see happen here.
And it's the children who are really impacted. Their lives are really helped by these projects.
For sure. Joyce Meyer Ministries and Hand of Hope, we have Christian teachers provided by the church that are teaching these kids.
Yeah.
In fact, most of them that go to school get saved, and they are learning how to pray. I mean, it's amazing what's happening, and we must reach them at these young ages, and providing an education and a Christian education is one of the greatest things that we can do.
And their health is better because they have fresh water available.
If you provide clean water, you'll deal with about 75 to 80% of all the illnesses that these people will suffer.
Wow.
From waterborne illness. Children were dying at an incredible rate. This is just not right.
And they're days away from any medical help, correct?
Many of them never make it to the clinic. There are some clinics that never make it there before they die.
Yeah.
So this is really critical. This clean water is in essence like medicine, good medicine. Necessary for life, but also for their health.
Yeah. So at this point, we've been on the road for hours, and essentially, we're a little bit lost, but we're in good hands, so we're not at all worried. We should be arriving very soon. You're looking around, and the driver's making phone calls asking how to get to the right place, and you think, how do they ever find it? You can't say, turn at that gas station, you know, it's just trees and rocks, and it's amazing. But we got there in about 8.5 hours or so. Saw our tents and our camp set up all ready for us, and we were so well cared for. But it really makes you begin to stop and realize what people in these areas are dealing with. They have very little food. Nothing's growing, very little green. So they're hungry, they're thirsty, they're no medical care at all. So all of those blessings, things like running water that we take for granted, these people live without. So the thought of being able to bring those answers, to bring the life of Christ through food and water and the living word, it's just so encouraging and so exciting to see what God would allow us to be part of.
For your donation today of any amount, we'd like to say thank you with the books of Psalms and Proverbs from the new Battlefield of the Mind Study Bible. Contact us right now, 1-800-727-9673, or go to joycemeyer.org.
They named this area with the well and the school and the church Yamawega. Yamawega means a changed life. It's a perfect name for this area because it is reaping so many changed lives. None of it would happen without the right people in those locations for us to connect with. People who are on the ground, people like Gil and Dolphy who live there, who are immersed, and who know how to meet the needs of the people in a way that we could never do on our own. The two of you were really focused on sharing Christ and planting churches. So why now are you in the education business as well?
One of the things we saw, I mean, it originally, just like you say, our focus was church planting. But when you come out into an area like this and you realize the needs, I mean, how can people accept the Lord if there's no water? How can they accept that, if their life is struggling the whole time?
Exactly.
And so one of the things we saw, as soon as a girl becomes anywhere from the age of puberty on before she's married, and a boy from puberty up until about 44, 45 years old, they have these mandatory village meetings for them. And in that meeting, they'll say, this girl will have to sleep with this man tonight.
And this may be a 13, 14-year-old girl.
Yes, yeah. And they'll
Does she have any
it.
choice?
Not really. I mean, they're not going to take her and force her, but her choice is if she doesn't do it, that she has to take the punishment of a beating. And so this one girl didn't want to do it. And so she decided to take the punishment of the beating. And so she laid down, and she has to lay down naked. And they start beating. Well, unfortunately, they kept on beating her until she died. And we realized that this has got to stop. This part of the culture is just so dark, and it needed to change. And the government in Tanzania is great in the sense that if you bring in a school, once a child's name is written down into the school ledger and is a part of a government school or a Christian school, whatever, they can no longer be involved in these type of meetings. And so when we saw that if we start bringing in schools, it will pull these little girls and little children basically out of this type of lifestyle, that we knew we had to do this.
So planting a school not only educates, not only takes a group of people who have a 99% illiteracy rate, so therefore it can start changing that process of poverty, but it also introduces them to Christ, so they're able to learn about God's Word, and it removes them from that system where they were being so horribly abused.
Yes. So we saw that schools were definitely the way for the gospel to go forward and bring so much change that will help the Datooga overall.
We got a glimpse at how attitudes are indeed changing when we heard a local father tell why it was important for his daughters to go to school.
In Tanzania, we don't have a lot of nurses like in hospitals in the bush, like in this area. He says, this is the one I want to see his daughter go to school and later becoming a doctor, maybe becoming like a nurse.
And we do know that within one generation, education can turn a cycle of abuse and poverty around.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But one of the biggest things, aside of education itself, is so many of these young girls have accepted Christ. And same with the young boys. And as these kids grow up and then start getting married, their lives will be completely different because it's Christ-centered.
The children, especially the time of year that we were there, the dry season, are just so hungry. They just don't have food at home. For these children, they told us that these children are so excited about that meal the next day, they don't often even sleep at night. It's like waking up for Christmas. They're just so excited. It's hard for us to imagine. Do you see a difference in the children because of the nutritional value of the food?
Without a doubt, they're definitely healthier, but they're more focused in classroom, because if you're hungry all day long, I mean, a lot of them are leaving their houses at 5 o'clock in the morning to get here on time. And so they're not even having a breakfast. So having this makes a huge difference.
The meals that Hand of Hope provides to these children are helping them perform better in school and, moreover, ensuring they have good health. In fact, the nutritious meals, along with clean water, have drastically increased the children's chance to live. And for most of the children, the meals they receive at school is their only meal for the day, which makes Stefano's story even more remarkable.
They tell us that sometimes the children like to worship and pray a lot, and they decide to fast. Also, do you do that sometimes with your friends?
Because, you know, I learning about Jesus is fasting for 4 days, so I just doing it because Jesus is fasting.
So he learned from Jesus to do that?
Yeah.
And what do you pray for when you pray?
He says, I pray, I want my brother and my mom telling me, no problem, you can go to church.
Yeah, we'll pray that with you too.
Anasema kwamba tutaomba na sisi pia kwa ajili yako.
And we'll pray that your mom and your brother will even come to church with you someday.
Kwa mukafika kanisa na arsaw, seto kwa muwalel. Yeah, he say, yeah, God, he can do. We want to say thank you so much for those people that help us to find water because we're cooking and we drink water.
Those people that helped you with the water are right in there. You can see them in there and tell them thank you.
Fuga kwa nasa big. Ni wanda howe nyo teba kamera de Roxanne, thank you.
Thank you. Good job.
One of the most beautiful moments that we saw there was right before a meal. When they prayed over their meal, it just stopped us all in our tracks because it was like worship time. It was so sincere.
Hello. Would you like some?
I'll always remember those beautiful little faces, little 4-year-old Uda and Luke, a very quiet young man who has a huge desire to become a pastor. He's gonna change lives in that village. He's gonna make a difference. To be able to think about the impact that Maria will have one day. Maria's a little girl with one earring in one ear, a little hoop. When she was born, she was very ill, and a witch doctor came and put that earring in her ear and told her family this earring will keep her alive, but if she ever takes the earring out, she will die. But now Maria knows better. Maria knows that she has something stronger in her than that witch doctor can do. And one day, when she's old enough to make her own decision and she can take that earring out of her ear, that will be such a wonderful testimony to the people in that village.
What's your name? Nice to meet you.
Those opportunities that God gives us are huge. And I want to say yes to him. And I know many people watching want to say yes to him, want to do whatever they can. So there are things that we can do that will help not only continue this work, but do many more works in other villages, other places around the world, just like this. The more people that come together with us together, the more changed lives we'll see. So we're very grateful to everyone who helps, and we're gonna ask everyone who's not doing it yet, come along with us, because you don't want to miss out on something like this.
We are seeing that water changes lives. Fresh, clean water. And with your help, we are willing to go anywhere necessary to provide that water. At Joyce Meyer Ministries Hand of Hope, it doesn't matter how remote it is, it doesn't matter how difficult it is. If God opens a door, we want to be here providing this clean water.
For your donation today of any amount, we'd like to say thank you with the books of Psalms and Proverbs from the new Battlefield of the Mind Study Bible. Contact us right now, 1-800-727-9673, or go to joycemeyer.org.
It is very amazing to me, the fact that a single thing water can completely change what is happening in the lives of people. Everybody knows how important water is. We all know that we don't exist without it. But what you have to do is put yourself in the position of a person who just doesn't have access to it. And that is the case for many, many people. The water that they do get, it's dangerous. It's hours and hours away. And if we can go in and provide a fresh, safe water well for people, not only lives begin changing, but villages, and then the area around them, churches are planted at that place. We are able to see their health change. We're able to see people come to Christ. And it all starts with that single well. Tell me about the well that you see behind us. This well is for the school, so it really benefits the children.
We've done the project. It's
Yeah.
a wonderful well, great solar pumping system provided by Joyce Meyer Ministries through Hand of Hope. And you see the solar panels, and it's producing a lot of water and blessing this entire community. They're coming from 2 hours away to get water at this particular site.
Tell me about the solar panels. Why a solar well here?
We've heard that in Tanzania, there's well over 5,000 broken down hand pumps throughout the country.
Wow.
So many years ago, we decided to go with renewable energy. It's a more expensive project initially, but in the long run, it's a much better way to go. We can provide water not for just a handful of families, but for thousands of people. Now, if you look in this area here, what's happening, because there's water, there's a church, there's the school, there's a garden over there. You see the people gardening, they're raising chickens.
That's his house.
Teachers' housing.
Yeah.
It's all here. Why? Because of water.
And we see over here there's a lot of people with their livestock as well, and they're coming over to get, oh, we have a friend, look.
Yeah.
Look, how cute is this?
Yeah. And
Here's some of the livestock
And
coming.
little goat want water.
It's a baby goat.
Yeah.
In this particular area, it was in dire straits. In fact, early on, years ago, they were telling us that 5 out of every 10 of the children were dying before they reached the age of 5, mostly from waterborne illness.
Half of the children dying before they reach the age of 5.
It's deplorable. Gil was telling me that he's actually seen children drinking cow urine.
Yeah, because here is dry and they take and they just drink. After Hand of Hope helping 2 wells, we have the water. We don't heard any child die.
So water's the beginning, but water brings health. It ushers in education. It brings peace to warring people. It brings an opportunity to share Christ, to plant a church. How many opportunities God has given us around this one incredibly important resource.
And it's breaking down barriers, and it's opening up the door for the preaching of the gospel, which is transformational in itself. And when that happens, people live better. The powers that they're underneath, the witch doctors and the fear and the superstition and the traditional religion and animism, the powers of these religions are broken through the power of the gospel.
The first time I come here, it's a little bit I'm scared because people, they told me that the Datooga is one tribe, they cannot accept the Christ. But now we see the kids, they just pray and fasting, and they just singing. So you see changes is coming.
These children, when they pray, it's amazing just to see their love for God when they worship. It's just very sincere. How does that make you feel when you see them do that?
He says, I'm telling the kids, God, He can change your hearts. God, He can help you. And I say, you can singing, you can preach, you can sharing your parents about Jesus. And that one, the kids, they just like to do.
Have you seen the impact of the water on the people in this area as well?
We see changes coming again for water because a lot of people, they're coming and taking water and just sharing about Jesus because people, they're sitting down and they relax, you know.
So the fact that the people are coming here to get the water gives you, as the pastor, an opportunity to tell them about Jesus?
Yeah. Says yes.
Thank you for the translation.
I remember laying in the tent one night, and sometimes it's a little bit difficult to sleep, and you can hear the animals walking around. There were a lot of hyenas in the camp, and you heard the hyena noises, and to be able to lay there in that moment and think, wow, God, thank you so much for bringing us here. Thank you so much for showing us how we can make a difference in these children's life and these people's lives. And then you go back home and you're never the same. You never are able to think of that as distant anymore. There is something that we can all do that will make a difference in those people's lives. God gives us all different ways that we can help. So whatever way God gives us, that's where he wants us to be obedient. There's no guilt in any of this. It's all joy in being able to help. So sometimes we think things are just too far away. It's just the way things are in those areas. That's not how God sees it. God sees it as, these are people that I love. Over here are people that I love. I'm going to bring them together so that they can love each other and help each other.
Well, as you have just seen, access to clean water not only saves lives, it opens the door for us to share God's living water to one of the most unreached people groups in the world, living in one of the most forsaken places on the earth. You know, Dave and I, we invest in this ministry all the time personally, and we do lots of different things. But when we learned about this particular opportunity, we made an extra special gift because we wanted to be part of doing something in this region. It's something that I personally got excited about, and I also want you to be excited about it. Will you help us today by sending in a very generous gift, a financial gift, marked for missions, so we can continue reaching these people and other people just like them all over the globe? You never lose anything by being generous to people that are hurting. It only puts you in a position to watch God do more and more for you. Thank you for your help today. We really appreciate it.
For your donation today of any amount, we'd like to say thank you with the books of Psalms and Proverbs from the new Battlefield of the Mind Study Bible. Contact us right now, 1-800-727-9673, or go to joycemeyer.org.
Thank you, friends and partners. Together, we're sharing the love of Christ around the world. To find out more, please contact us or visit us online at joycemeyer.org. Join us in partnership as we share the love of Christ around the globe.
The proceeding was paid for by the friends and partners of Joyce Meyer Ministries.